And a good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome in. Chase and Big Joe, 1025, 1063. The game. Chase McCabe here. Big Joe Dubin there. Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier over there. Good morning, guys. What's up?
What's happening, Chase? Can you hear me?
Oh, we got you, Joe. You're,
Sounds good. Dr. Crane, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing on this fine Friday?
oh, we feel good.
Well, I wasn't hanging with big time celebrities last night, but Chase was. So
I did have a good time at the NASCAR Awards. I will admit that. It was certainly cool. Another cool event that comes to our city that, you can thank Butch Spearden and probably Scott Ramsey and everybody involved that that got that here a few years ago. But it was awesome. And then I walked over to the Preds game for a little bit, which unfortunately was not awesome. In John Hines' return as the Minnesota Wild took care of business, and then I went back over to NASCAR and went to the after party for a little bit, and Flo Rida was there. You love Flo Rida.
was he?
He was the entertainment.
Oh, that's awesome. He did the Grand Prix too back in August.
Yes, he did. He sure did. No, what was funny about him is, he's up there, he's on the stage, there's the lights and everything, he's moving around, running on stage. Like, that dude was sweating more than I think than you and I do combined.
Nice.
And we sweat a lot.
Did you sing "Boots with the Fur" or whatever song is?
He did, yes.
Why didn't you do it?
Well, I was singing along, but it was more about him. So it was a good time.
Good times then.
I worked the red carpet and so was helping out Nashville Super Speedway with that. So his drivers, came by, talked to them for a few minutes. And Ben Rhodes, who is the Craftsman Truck Series champion, great guy, lots of personality. He's the one that a few years ago when he won his first title, after the race, you're in victory lane and you're got champagne and beers, and then in Phoenix where the championship race is, they have this thing called the barn that they take the champion to, and he's doing shots and everything. So by the time he got to us in the media center, he was feeling pretty good. And so he kind of went viral because he was basically drunk when he got to the media center.
Nice.
And so he won the championship again this year and did it again. Because this time, it was for show, but, it was kind of his thing. And so last night he's on the carpet and he's like, yeah, Nashville, I don't know how you live here. Like you guys, like, this town has gotten me the last couple of nights. But anyway, I asked him about, if he wins that at the Nashville Super Speedway, you win a guitar. And I said, are you going to learn how to play it? Because I asked every driver that has won one, have you learned to play it yet? And they say no. And I'm like, well, why not? You're getting a free guitar.
Right.
You need to learn
That's
how to
right.
play this thing. So
Yeah.
he goes, and I said, look, I play. I'll teach you. He goes, if you teach me a few chords, maybe we can, put a band together. And so we decided to enlist Kyle Larson to be our singer and Bubba
Okay.
Wallace to be our drummer, and we're going to form a band.
What's the name of the band?
We got to come up with a name.
Well, I'll work on that. What's the name of Chase's band with NASCAR drivers?
We have to work on that, but it was definitely cool to be a part of last night and see all those drivers and everything in our city. So
Did you start crying when you interviewed Dale Jr.?
no, but I will admit that was cool because I've never I have attempted to interview him once. He did a call in and something messed up with the phone, so the interview didn't record. So I guess technically I have interviewed him before, but nobody heard it. And so I was just actually looking at it. I got about 4.5 minutes with him on the red carpet,
Nice.
talking about Nashville. He loves Nashville and everything. So that was cool. Yeah, I was glad I was finally able to do that.
Well, that's good. I was hoping you'd do your Ed Werder voice, like, "Hey, Dale Jr., my name's
Hey,
Chase McCabe."
I have gotten past that. Okay.
Oh, come on.
I've grown. I've grown
That's
up.
part of your adorability is the fact that you have that voice of talking to. I mean, I don't know if Ed Werder's considered a celebrity or not, but That's pretty cute back in the day.
Well, can we address something with you? Because for those watching on the stream,
Yeah.
why are you upside down?
I had a late night last night with some
You
friends here
Batman?
in
Are you hanging
Chattanooga.
from the ceiling? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, so I had a late night here in Chattanooga. When a couple of your dear friends ask you to go out for a beer or two, just politely say no and then go back to your hotel room. That's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally the smart thing to do, but sometimes
Yeah,
that
it
doesn't
is.
happen.
Joe, is the
Right.
blood rushing too fast to your head or something? Like I just
Not at all. I do this every morning. It feels
okay.
good.
Does it help
Yeah.
out the spine or something like that?
The spine, the stenosis, and the everything that goes involved with your head. And I don't know what that all is, but yeah, it feels better.
I guess
Had a
you
long
guys
day yesterday.
you guys do this at Competitive Edge, right?
We do this competitive edge. We hang upside down like bats. That's all we do in the competitive edge every day.
That's I don't even know. Yeah, Nick texted me and said you're working with Batman today. I mean, you're upside. Why are you weren't upside down a few minutes ago.
Well, I was trying to find a cool backdrop. I have when I do Zooms, this is crazy. When I do Zooms with other people, I have a George Plaster big picture behind me,
Nice.
and I can't find it on my computer. So I was like, I'll just turn it upside down right now.
That's a good one
Thank you.
for sure. So yeah, the John Hines returns to Bridgestone Arena last night, and not a good one for the Predators. We'll talk to Sean Henry in a few minutes, but 6-1 the final, and look, when you're going through a 82 game season, sometimes you're going to have clunkers, and that was a clunker.
I didn't see. I probably should have done some prep work. What happened?
I mean, they just got dominated, basically, is what it was. One goal for the Predators, but it just was one of those things where it's not your night. Dewar had a hat trick for Minnesota, and then Kaprizov got on the board. Pat Maroon got on the board too. Middleton got on the board, and it just wasn't the Preds' night. And sometimes that happens.
Wait, what was the final score? You didn't tell me.
I did 6-1 Minnesota.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
So John Hines did get a video. Now, I wasn't in the building, so I didn't hear the reaction when the video happened, but I'm glad they did something. I mean, look, he's a good guy. He was a good coach and inherited the team in a tough situation, a couple of months before COVID, and then had to navigate COVID. So I never understood some of the vitriol towards John Hines, but was glad to see them do something for him.
Well, I mean, it's not like the guy, did an awful job in Nashville. They made the playoff. I mean, the COVID thing was, nobody, there was no playbook for COVID, right? There was no playbook how to navigate your hockey team through a pandemic. And I thought he did fine. He made the playoffs the next year. And it's just, everybody has that shelf life, and it was time. And yeah, I'm glad they gave him a video tribute last night.
Yeah, no doubt, and that's definitely what they should have done. It was the right thing to do. So, but tough one for the Preds. They're back at it tomorrow against the New York Rangers, and then a fun Thursday night football game. Again, I didn't get to see a lot of it, but I saw the highlights. The Cowboys able to get it done over the Seahawks. The Seahawks wearing those amazing throwback uniforms, playing in Dallas, but.
Why would Seattle ever go back to their current uniforms? I mean, those uniforms last night looked beautiful. Absolutely beautiful last night. I know they lost the game. I know that's the most important thing, but they looked awesome last night.
They did. And I'm curious because we've seen, the Titans obviously have worn the Oilers. Seahawks have worn the throwbacks. Atlanta has worn throwbacks with the red helmets. The Giants have worn throwbacks. The Jets kind of did a variation of it, but it's still with the new helmet. Lions, trying to think of the other ones. My point is, of all these throwbacks that we're seeing, you know how this works. Like the first example that comes to mind off the top of my head, Calgary Flames did it a few years ago. They wore the throwbacks. They were so popular, they switched back to the old uniform. I feel like there's an NFL team that's going to do that.
Yeah.
that they're going to
I
go
mean,
back to their old uniform.
I dig it. I like the Falcons look good last week when they did their thing. So I think, any more we could do like that is really good. But they looked good last night. I mean, those Seahawks uniforms look fantastic. And that was a fun game. I watched bits and
Yeah.
pieces of it. That was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, but look, games like this, are what Dak Prescott has, gotten chastised for, that, you're in a close game, you got to win those big games, and they did that. They pulled it out last night. Now, the defense obviously helped some of that. I mean, Micah Parsons, that's a bad man. Is a bad man right there.
Oh, yeah.
I love watching him play. But it was a shootout, and Dallas gets the win, 41-35, and remains one of the top teams in the NFC.
Yeah, and that was good for them. I was watching this morning about on ESPN about Mike McCarthy and much maligned coach, and they always forget that the guy won a Super Bowl. It's not like every coach walk around's won a Super Bowl, and I know he had some great teams in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, and they made the NFC Championship game and didn't get it done. But I mean, he's been to the mountaintop, and so that Cowboys team is. What's their record now since George Kittle made fun of them? Did they win like 4 or 5 straight?
Yeah. Well,
They won
lost
a couple.
Yeah, but they lost to the Eagles.
But they're playing good football now, and that was
their last loss was to the Eagles. So They lost to the 49ers. They beat the Chargers, beat the Rams, lost to the Eagles in a close game at Philly. Then they've won 4 straight against the Giants, Panthers, Commanders, and Seahawks. Now their schedule certainly gets tougher because they go to the Eagles next week. Or no, the Eagles come to them next week. Then they're at Buffalo, at Miami, and then home against Detroit, and then at Washington to close out the season.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
they're playing good.
They are. So going to be interesting.
And I'll tell you this: DK Metcalf is going to get paid. He's going to get a lot. I mean, he looked good last night.
Well,
he's on a lot of money.
I'm curious on him because he was a part of the group. Like when A.J. Brown got his contract, he got an extension, but I think it was only like a 3-year extension. So I agree that he's outplayed, and I don't think Seattle's going to be the team to pay him. But
somebody will.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know that he and A.J. have always wanted to play together in the NFL. Could you imagine having both of them?
Ooh, yeah. Which goes back to why that Ole Miss team wasn't better than it was.
No, I know.
In 2018.
I know. Coming up next, we'll talk to Sean Henry, the CEO of the Nashville Predators. Saw him briefly last night. We'll do that next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, friends, let me tell you about a great company in our area. It's Middle Tennessee's best healthcare in the comfort of your own home. I'm talking about Medical House Calls, where the nearest clinic is your home. The website is medicalhousecalls.com. No more heading to an urgent care. No more sitting in a waiting room. Board-certified nurse practitioners and physician's assistants come to you. Look, don't take my word. Just read the numerous fantastic reviews that Medical House Calls has gotten. It really is a game changer. In fact, Chuck McDowell was a client. He loved the company and the service so much, he bought the company. For years, I had to leave work to check on my mom when she was sick. Now, you can have Medical House Calls check in on your loved ones to make sure everyone and everything is okay. It really is a game changer, my friends. Visit their website today. It's simple, medicalhousecalls.com.
Big Joe, 1025, 1063 The Game. Chase McKay, Big Joe Dubin with you on this Friday. As we do every Friday at this time, we say hello to the CEO of the Nashville Predators, Sean Henry, who is on the line with us and apparently has been waiting very patiently to talk to us since last night. So, Sean, good morning. Thank you for doing this.
You know, I've never been accused of being patient before, but I'm glad I was on hold for the past 7 minutes. Good morning, guys.
We wanted you to listen, and enjoy the show.
Hey, Joe, if you don't mind giving me a moment, I need to make a public apology. So thank you for the indulgence. I mean, last night we were toasting Pete Weber, his 2,000 games, and really nice moment celebrating his wife's birthday. And, of course, Chase was there. We were waiting on you. You never showed up. And in the middle of the toast, I had tears in my eyes, some passion, celebration of Pete's career in Nashville, and thanking him for all he's done. Chase takes out his phone, shows me a picture of him and some guy, and he's just staring at me, waiting for a reaction. And I said, I'm sorry, Chase, I don't know who that is. And just like you described, his voice started cracking. And he's like, you don't know who that is? I was like, I have no idea. Who is it? And who was it, Chase?
It was Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yes, I apologize for not knowing immediately in the middle of my toast that you were with a racing legend, and I feel so guilty. But Joe, like you said, his voice was cracking, and he was so mad for not knowing who the gentleman was.
That was Chase's biggest night ever. I mean, I'm surprised he showed up at work today.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a big deal. Sean, one, you were done
Good
with
morning,
the toast,
guys.
and it was a great toast to Pete Weber, who just surpassed his 2,000th game with the Predators. That's what I keep telling people. 2,000 games with the Predators. Like, he's approaching 2,500 in his career, which is fantastic. But that was really cool. Obviously, he was presented with an award Tuesday night during the game at the arena. And, Pete is truly the voice of Smashville.
Yeah, it really was a nice moment. And, the funny thing about Pete is we asked him to take the night off to really celebrate, with his family and friends. And what I love about Pete, he said, I'd like to. He said, but I got to start on my second 2,000 games with the Preds. And that's Pete in a nutshell. He loves calling games, loves interacting with people. And he's not just the voice of Smashville. I think he's one of our biggest ambassadors to have generations of fans fall in love with our great game. And we're just grateful to have he and his wife, Claudia, in Smashville for the past 25 years.
Something that has always impressed me about this franchise, and, truthfully, I don't go to other games a whole lot, but when somebody makes an impact on the organization, you as an organization make sure that you do a good job of honoring them. Obviously with Pete, and then John Hines returns last night with Minnesota. You guys do a nice thing for him. Why is that important to recognize those people, even when they're not with the organization anymore? We saw it earlier this year with Ryan Johansson as well.
Oh, it's funny. There are a handful of teams around our league that do, I just think, an incredible job with their alumni and personalities. And we've learned a lot from some of those teams. And it's, once a Pred, always a Pred. Whether you're here for one game or 1,000 games, we've only had 4 coaches in franchise history. And each one of them have contributed to who and what we are. I mean, poor John entered this team at a difficult time. We were out of the playoffs. He pushed us into the playoffs. A few weeks after he got here, the city was hit with a tornado. He immediately had the team jump in and start helping out. A few days later, pandemic hits, and he stayed in contact with the team, built a pretty good unified group, despite not being able to get together. And, he put us in the playoffs 2 out of 3 years. And last year, despite our separation, at the trade deadline, we made a lot of moves. The team was just plagued with injuries. We played some of our most inspired hockey last year at that time. And some of the work that he did with those young guys, we're seeing the fruits of it, this year, and we will for years to come. So, I mean, I'm personally grateful to John, and I think most of Smashville is too. Of course, you have a handful of outliers that are just, goofy. We say odd things, but he's a big part of who we are and what we are. And it was fun to celebrate last night with him and, his wife and her friends and family and daughters were in a suite. Had a chance to spend some time with them. We got pretty close with the Hines while they're here. So it's a nice way to send people off. And history is told through a lot of chapters, and that's just one of ours.
I love it. Talking to Sean Henry this morning. Sean, I love this when the New York Rangers come to town, and here's why. Growing up in Nashville, I never thought we'd see the Dallas Cowboys come to my hometown or the New York Rangers. And every time an iconic team comes to town, like the Rangers, it's really special to me. I know you grew up in New York and you're around hockey and you're, the Rangers and all that. But what does it mean to this city? I mean, I know they've been coming here for 25 years. I know Gretzky came here that first year and all that. But the fact of this, coming here and that people get to see these teams and growing up with it, I think it's really special. And if that feeling ever goes away, Sean, then I think that's a sad day.
I agree with you. And I'm sure 20, 40, 50, 60 years from now, the original six won't be as meaningful, to the kids watching the games. But as far as, guys my age or yours or even Chase's youthful age, it is still a pretty cool thing when certain teams come, because whether you like it or not, there are certain teams in sports whose logos mean a little bit more, normally because they've been around for 100 years or whatever it may be, or had a legendary coach like the Cowboys did. And, I grew up a Ranger fan. Long ago, I dismissed being a Ranger fan. But, for me, I hate when we play the Rangers because it just means, every knucklehead that I graduated from high school with calls me, texts me, tweets me, tries to connect somehow on Facebook for some odd reason to ask who I'm really rooting for. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? But tonight, Richard DiStefano and his family, Jimmy Lanzarote and his family, Jimmy Britt and his family, they're all going to be coming in and begging me to get them tickets for tomorrow, and I won't. I mean, they'll probably get in the building, but I'm definitely not going to sell any tickets to some Ranger fans, despite, going from kindergarten through college roommates with three of them.
Sean Henry is with us.
Good to you.
Go ahead, Joe.
All right, Sean, you got explain. Yeah, Chase, this is my time with my friend, not your time. Okay,
sorry.
You can just back off from that right there.
I've
asked this before. The
Dale
board,
Jr.
Yeah, I'm looking at my picture of Dale Jr. So.
right? Oh my gosh, we got so many jokes about that. All right, Sean, you're headed to Seattle for the Board of Governors meeting again. I've asked you this before. What is the Board of Governors again? What do you guys do? You sit around and drink?
You know what? They're pretty serious meetings, but there is a lot of time to have a little bit of fun too. Basically, every team has a governor. The person who is the final vote on everything, and then some associate or alternate governors. And at every board of governors, you need to have one of those people there. We normally send 2, maybe 3 from time to time. But you vote on league matters, and you discuss things, and you argue, and you debate. But what's really cool about it, you have 32 teams represented, so probably 60, 70 people from the teams, another 20 or so from the league. And what we're all focused on is this great game. And, how do you make it better? How do you, look at what's not as good as it could be? How do you grow what's really good? And, I remember the first time I went, 20 years ago or so, I was so intimidated. I'm a fairly arrogant, confident guy for some reason. And you go in that room, and what I was impressed with 20 years ago, and I still am today, is you really have, 60, 70, 80 people working together, loving this game, and figuring out how to make it better and better and better. And I don't think anyone epitomized that better than David Poile. And it'll be weird. This will be my second meeting without David, so it's kind of bizarre. But I think Bill Haslam and I are going to this one, and it is a good time too. And you look around the room, and there are still guys in that room that when I was a kid, you read about in the newspaper, and it's kind of fun to be in the room with those guys.
Sean Henry is with us, the CEO of the Nashville Predators, and also Monday was really cool at Bridgestone Arena. I stopped in for a little bit before I went to George Plaster's bowling event, but WWE Raw was back at Bridgestone, and with CM Punk's return to WWE, it was history making because of the social media just attention that everything got, because that was going to be his first Monday Night Raw in almost 10 years, and it happened right in our city.
Yeah, it's funny. I know you're a pretty big fan, and obviously I love them because, they do a lot with them. But my younger son's a really big fan as well, and he called me a week ago to let me know this was going to happen. And I said, oh, that's great. He said, he got very serious. He said, you have no idea what this means to the world. And I said, all right, whatever. Well, it turns out he was right again. But, yeah, it was amazing. Once they announced that, sales for the event were incredible anyway. But once that was announced, we had to add some seats here or there. They redid the stage to open up some more seats. It was a big, big day, and just another, opportunity for Smashville to shine across the globe. So I won't lie, I never get an autograph. But I was with you at George Plaster's bowling event. Not that either one of you said hello. But someone did get me an autograph from CM Punk for my son. So it'll be a good Christmas present. Unless he's listening, and then it'll ruin his Christmas present.
That's pretty cool. I didn't say hello because I didn't see you. I was in the late group. You probably were in the early group. So that's why.
I was in the old man early group. Yeah, early bird special, Sean Henry. I left my house or the building at 2:00 to get to Hermitage by 5:30.
Yeah, well, that's you might have been there on time doing it that way. There's no doubt. Sean, appreciate it as always, and let's start a new winning streak tomorrow against the Rangers, and we'll see you at Bridgestone. And an early game, 3:30 puck drop.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I would have forgotten. But, yeah, 3:30. I love matinee games on Saturdays. Like Joe said, you love playing those original 6 teams. You love seeing guys in our building wearing red, white, and blue after the game saying, that was the best time I ever had watching my team lose. And hopefully that's what we hear tomorrow from Richie DiStefano and Jimmy Lanzarata.
Yes, indeed. Have a great weekend, Sean. Thank you.
All right. You too, guys. Thank you.
Sean Henry, the CEO of the Nashville Predators, joining us here on the program. We'll shift gears, get into some Titans with our man Chris Sanders. We'll do that next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. And yes, it is Lionel Richie, which can only mean one man. Forever. Titans wide receiver, Chris Sanders, is on the line with us. Chris, good morning. How are you?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. Good to hear your voice. I'm sorry we missed last week, man. I've been listening to Ricky Skaggs and Al Jarreau this morning, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling good. We took the week off.
Sure, absolutely.
The time, but we're here. You're here now, and Treylon Burks, it appears, is going to be here with the Titans as he's been practicing. Whether he plays or not, I don't know if they're ramping things up but
right.
I would think he's going to be available. But how big is that? And what do you need to see from him for him to take those next steps as a true go-to wide receiver for this team?
I mean, I think it could be pretty good. I mean, everybody knows the situation about him being hurt, but when that dude is out there, he can make some plays. What was the buzz coming out of camp? Everybody kept talking about Treylon Burks making spectacular plays. When he went down to Minnesota, he made some plays before he got hurt. But the only thing that I'm kind of concerned about is I think the mental part of it, because when you go through a situation where you get hurt in the game and they got to cart you off the field, that kind of messes with your psyche. So if he can get past that mentally and go out there and make some plays against one-on-one coverage against his Indianapolis coach, that will be a big asset, not just for Will Levis, but all the other receivers that can have the potential to make plays.
I know we've talked about this before too, but
Sure.
It becomes more and more apparent to me when I see him make a big play. I feel like Chris Moore needs to be more involved.
Oh.
They need to be involving him more because the dude makes plays.
Every time. I mean, and they're explosive plays. I mean, if you look at every game that he played in, I know he might not have the 6 or 7 catches like, D-Hop, but when he makes a play, it's impactful. He'll catch 1 for 49, 1 for 39, 2 for 68 or something like that. But I agree with you. I mean, I think Tim Kelly needs to figure out a way to get him the ball, even if it's a slant or a hitch or something to get the ball in his hands, because every time, the ball is in there, he consistently makes plays. So if I'm Tim Kelly, I'm gonna figure out a way in a formation-wise to make sure this cat gets the ball.
Chris, I've been watching a lot of Will Levis behind that terrible offensive line. Every time he drops back, even a 5-step drop, I'm like, oh Lord, why don't they do more 3-step drops? Bam, get the ball out. Those plays seem to work almost all the time.
Yeah, I mean, they could, the 3-step, but if you do a 3-step, there's still somebody in his mustache. So even if it's a 3, 5, or a 7, it feels uncomfortable when you have somebody consistently in your face. Now, this is the real crazy part about the whole situation, that you're getting pressure when it's in shotgun. When it's in shotgun, when you have 4 or 5 guys in your face, it's kind of hard to make plays when you don't have a clean pocket. I mean, this guy, listen, even though this guy is getting hit in the face and getting with 5 guys in his sight, this guy stands in there and makes the play. He stands in there tall, and throws the ball to those receivers. So I'm proud of that aspect of what he's doing.
How a receiver in the league? How many times did you get called for holding, blocking downfield? Because I called
Never.
I called the state championship game yesterday between CP and Boyd Buchanan, and their receivers down the field several times. They had long runs and they're trying to block down the field, and they got called for holding. That's not easy to teach, is it?
It's not. I mean, the thing about it is, and I'm going to be a coach for a second, you got to keep your hands in. And when a ref sees your hands are out and you're grabbing a shoulder pass, they're going to call it each and every time, because you got to understand, like, I coach at Montgomery Bell Academy, and I coach the wide receivers there and here, but I teach them to try to keep their hands in, because you can have an explosive play downfield, but you're waiting so long because the play has got to develop. When the play develops and they're running, a sweep to the outside, and you got to block in the perimeter for like 3 and 4 seconds, it's tough because you can't hold that guy for long periods of time. So that's why a lot of guys or a lot of wide receivers get caught for holding, because they have to be out there with the guy so long, and that's why they get caught.
You know what else I've seen this year too, Chris, is a lot. They've called it more and more and more. Is an eligible receiver downfield, because quarterbacks are now scrambling and running. I know the linemen get like a yard or 2 off the line of scrimmage, but that's been called so much this year because quarterbacks are extending plays and the linemen want to go hit somebody. The fact is they go 10 yards down the field and don't do it. And that, again, that's tough to coach.
I mean, it is, because you got an offensive line. Just say we're running a screen or whatever. They're trying to get out fast because the rush is coming. I mean, that's just kind of like a call that you can make or you can't make. But when you have linemen down the field acting like they're receivers, then that's a problem. But I think as a coach, as an offensive line coach, or as an offensive coordinator, I just got to make sure and drill it in their mind each and every practice, each and every rep that you have to make sure that you can't go downfield because it's just something that you got to be disciplined to do.
Chris Sanders is with us, forever Titans wide receiver. So I'm curious about this too. The New England rumors don't go away.
God.
There was a Greg Bedard story earlier this week, and
Yes.
you had Diana Rossini that said no, the Titans are happy and Vrabel's not going anywhere.
Right.
But look, we obviously hear all that and we talk about it. The locker room's going to hear about it. How do you prevent that, being one of the leaders of the locker room, how do you prevent that from being a distraction? And do you think that Vrabel has gotten in front of them and said, guys, look, here's the deal?
Yeah, he probably has. He probably done that. But here's the thing: as in a locker room, I know this may sound kind of wild, but we really don't talk about it. I mean, like when they was talking about Jeff Fisher before we went to the Super Bowl, they was talking about getting rid of him. But you really don't really talk about it. Just kind of let that happen in the front office. But I think that with Mike Vrabel, I think it might be a little different. I think he's going to go in front of the team and say, you know what, I know all these rumors are going on, but don't really listen to it. But at the end of the day, I don't buy it because if you look at the track record of the Tennessee Titans, they said that A.J. Brown was going to be a Tennessee Titan forever. He gets traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. Then all of a sudden you sign, J-Rob in February, a couple of years ago in February, you sign him into a long-term deal. Then that same year you cut him. So, he might stand in front of the team and say, well, I'm going to be here for the long term. I'm going to be your coach, and we're in this together, and we're going to win these games. But at the end of the day, the owner might say, you know what, it might be too much for you to stand here. You never know. He might go to the Ohio State University or the Patriots.
Yeah, and that could certainly be interesting. Go, Joe.
Yeah, Chris, I was watching the Seahawks game last night. And a guy I was with were watching DK Metcalf and says, that guy's built like Chris Sanders.
He's built like me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just wear tighter shirts and put them in the dryer for like eight times. It makes me make them tight. Sounds good.
So with him, and AJ put on the same college team at Ole Miss. But, Chris, when you watch DK Metcalf last night, man, he's just – I don't know if I've ever seen a receiver that big and that strong. Maybe I have.
He is a beast. Don't forget about Megatron now. Megatron from the Detroit Lions was a big monster too. But the one thing I love about A.J. Brown and the one thing I love about DJ Metcalf, these guys are just not big physical guys. These guys understand how to run routes. They understand how to get the guy off the spot. They understand how to lie with your eyes. They understand how to burst off the cut. So these are not just big guys just jumping up and catching the pass. I mean, you can look at yesterday when he went against the Dallas Cowboys. The guy was shaded inside and he ran a slant, so he understood that I have to get leverage on the defensive back and catch the ball. So with this guy being big, with this guy who can run a 4.3 and even run a 10.3 and 100, he's not just a speed physical guy. He's a guy who can run routes. He can run the choice routes. He can run the fade. He can run the slant. He can run, all those things that you want in a complete receiver. But the one thing that I really love about him, he's physical at the line of scrimmage. When you're physical at the line of scrimmage, you make yourself so much of a better player, Joe.
Chris, I called a football game this year at MTSU, and the quarterback threw the ball to 11 different guys.
Gosh.
Is that good or bad?
I think it's good because you have so many options. It's kind of like this. Just imagine if you have just one good receiver on your team. Then all of a sudden you can just double coverage him and you take him out the game. But now you start spreading the team out. You go into an empty package. You have a whole bunch of wide receivers. Then now you go on an empty formation and you got 4 or 5 receivers that are good. So now the quarterback has so many options. It's just kind of like going to Burger King. You can have it your way. So you can have it your way of throwing it to this guy. This guy's getting double. This guy's getting bracketed. This guy's saying, you know what, I got man-to-man coverage over here. So when you're spreading the ball around, that means you have some good wide receivers that are reliable and are in the right spot. So I think it's a great, great thing.
He is forever Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders. Our man joins us every Friday at 9:30. Chris, have a great weekend. We'll be listening Sunday to the pregame show.
Hey, before I get off, man, I just want to say you two are some of the greatest men that I know. Chase, I love what you do on 102.5. I love what you do in the community. And Joe, man, I love the books that you're putting out talking about your life. So I want to encourage you this day, man. You guys are 2 great men and keep being a light for this community, man. Appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Man, love you guys. Bye-bye.
Love you too. Chris Sanders joining us here on the program, as he always does on Fridays. Again, you want to interact with us, 615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai. HoopsNation.com. We've had a few texts come in. We haven't been able to get to those yet, so we'll do that next and continue the discussion on the Titans. That's next. Chasing Big Joe, presented by Regal Realty Group, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, presented by Regal Realty Group, broadcasting live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Make your silly underdog picks for your chance to win weekly prizes. You can play at thegamenashville.com or the 102.5 The Game app. Silly Underdogs is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Nick, you picked for me yesterday. Who'd we pick?
Oklahoma State plus 15.
Okay.
Hopefully you're not mad about that, but
No,
listen, we need some you need some points here. We're going to get you.
I quit caring about this contest 6 weeks ago.
Oh, God.
Derek has run away with it. So, it's like, why even – and what's funny about that, Joe, is in sports and stuff, you're like, no, you got to play every game like it's your last, and you got to give it your all. When you're losing, it's really hard to do that. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely it is. It's the greatest segment ever, man.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's why you should listen every Thursday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. You're down in Chattanooga. You've been covering the TSSAA State Football Championships. What all have we missed after one day down there in Chatty?
Well, Ingle Martin got his 4th title yesterday for CPA. They beat Boyd Buchanan over Gary Rankin, who's won 17 titles. But CPA, what a loaded team. They had a guy on their team named Cruz Law, who's going to North Carolina to play football. Just an amazing talent. I mean, he played linebacker. He went out of the game like 7 times with injuries, came back in and just played his tail off. So congrats to CPA. Ingle Martin on that. The D2 single A game, congrats to Middle Tennessee Christian. They beat Friendship Christian yesterday. Great. It wasn't a great game, but it was a fun game to watch. A lot of big runs. So congrats to MTCS on that. The last night, a game that has no interest to us in Nashville, but in Chattanooga, it was Baylor versus McCallie. There's probably 20,000 people at that game. The stadium was packed. A lot of fun as well. So with that, and today going in 1 hour from right now, going in about 10 minutes, East Nashville's playing for a state title. And once again, I did my tweet and social media post to Oprah because that's her alma mater. And hopefully one day she'll have to retweet me, but give a shout out to East Nashville for playing in the state championship. And it'd be cool to see that. And that's her alma mater. That's also, Chase, where Sergeant Carter from Gomer Pyle, East Nashville, is his alma mater as well.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. Now, was Alcoa is where Gary Rankin was, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So he left there 2 years ago. They got Boyd Buchanan back in the state title game this year. So, I mean, the guy's the greatest high school football coach ever in the state of Tennessee. And so to see him work, and I talked to him for the game yesterday, and such a good dude, and his resume speaks for himself.
And then later on today in 1A, you got South Pittsburgh and McKenzie, not in our area. But how about tonight? Knoxville West will face Page for the 5A championship.
Yeah, that's a remake from last year battle. And, Page has been through the fire, been tested, heck of a schedule, heck of a year. For Coach Rathbone and those folks over at Page. And, I'd love to see Page. I'm a Middle Tennessee guy like you are. So I want to see our teams from Middle Tennessee win all these state titles. That's a heck of a football game tonight. And, of course, tomorrow we got Pearl Cone playing. I'd love to see Tony Bernetti, those guys win. And then tomorrow night is Oakland taking on Houston out of Memphis.
Yeah, well, I was about to say Houston. Wow,
but I think the last state title that a Metro team won is Hillsboro in 2008. I think that's correct. Because East hasn't won one. Pearl Cone hasn't won. Am I leaving a team out?
Has it been since 2008?
Scott Blade was the head coach at Hillsboro. They won in 2008.
Yeah.
And I think that's the last team that won a state title, a Metro school that won a state title. Yeah. Metro Public School that won a state title.
Right. You may be
right.
I think
it's been 2008. I know Pearl Cone's been there. East has been there. But I think that's it. So I'd love to see both East and I'm a Metro school guy, man. I love those kids, and I'd love to see Pearl Cone and East bring home a state title. That'd be fantastic.
What a season Pearl Cone has had, though. 14-0, 7-0. I mean, this is a team that has all the avenues to win a state title.
Well, they do, and they just come up short in the state title game. They beat CPA in the regular season, which was a great game, and it was. I like Tony Burnetti's a heck of a coach, the all-time winningest coach in Metro. So I'd love to see him get rewarded with a state title as well as East Nashville. Come on, Oprah, retweet us.
I'm going to assume that and people you've been talking to down there that part of the conversation has been there's some pretty big jobs open in our area in the private schools, in Brentwood Academy and Innsworth. Lipscomb is open, and what's going to happen with those?
It's funny. I'm talking to Gary Rankin on the field yesterday, and he's like, "Let me ask you, what does that Innsworth job pay?" And I was like, "I'm sure pretty well." He's like, "That's interesting." We just kind of laughed and left it at that right there. But I've heard that job pays really well. But Lipscomb, Brentwood Academy, and Innsworth. I mean, that's 3 high-profile jobs that are left open. You know what I think? What's happening now, Chase? I think a lot of these schools are really doing their due diligence on coaches and making sure they're the right fit off the field. I think that's important now. Just going out and hiring a big name and bringing somebody in, and here's what happens. I think Trent Dilfer taught us a lot about hiring coaches, letting coaches go, how they run their program. As you know, I'm not the biggest Trent Dilfer fan around. But I think now what's called these ADs and presidents and headmasters or whatever, really take a second long look at who they're going to bring in as their head coach. And they should, because it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about these young men on these football teams that need a strong leader on and off the field.
Yeah, 100% agree, because, the thing that I think gets lost in this sometimes is that, most of these kids, when they are done in their senior year in high school, they will never put the pads on again. And so you want somebody that's going to prepare them for life, not just football. I
totally agree. Yeah, there were some kids here yesterday that played for Gary Rankin and Alcoa I was talking to, and just like his commitment to us, his dedication is like, when he's coaching us, we hated him, but the second the season stopped and we won a state championship and we won about our lives, we miss him. And I've told you before, and you agree with me on this, we have some amazing high school football coaches in the state of Tennessee, especially in Nashville, in Middle Tennessee, who go above and beyond of what a coach should be, who really care about these young men, who lead them, who teach them. I go back to high school. I had assistant coaches that were paying light bills for families, that didn't have enough money to do that. It's so much more than just about coaching football. It's about molding and leading young men. And that's why I will always tell you, high school football to me is the greatest sport in the world for what it teaches these young men.
Amen to that. Amen to that, indeed. Coming up next, we have a fun topic. We're going to have fun on a Friday.
Yeah.
And we want your participation, 615-737-1025. We might even entice you a little bit with a giveaway. In fact, we will do that. The most creative answer to this will win a 4-pack of tickets to see the Predators take on the Rangers at Bridgestone Arena tomorrow.
But Jimmy, tease the question?
Yes, tease the question.
All right, conversation last night that took us about an hour and a half was great with a bunch of people. If you had one living athlete, that you could sit at a bar with and have a beer, who would it be? Not your favorite athlete, per se, but one athlete, if you could sit at a bar and have a beer with them and watch football, baseball, whatever, what athlete would it be? And we had some very interesting answers last night, and I think we'll get some from our texters today.
They must be living, but can they be retired?
Yeah.
Okay.
They got to be living. A living athlete. Doesn't have to be your favorite one either.
615-737-1025. We'll give ours and take yours next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, hour number 2 here on this fun Friday. Hope you're having a fun start to your day so far. The weekend is upon us, and JoJo, we're going to have a little fun. We've already gotten some answers coming in through our text line. Got a couple of callers on hold, 615-737-1025. Hit us with the question of the day.
Yeah. All right. So a conversation last night with a few friends. If you could have a beer sitting at a bar watching games with one living athlete, who would it be? Not necessarily your favorite athlete, but one athlete, who would it be? And Chaser, you go first.
All right. This is a tough one because and let me preface this that it's easy to go to answers that for people that are no longer with us. So I was thinking about who's still alive, and I had to narrow it down. But I'm going to go with Charles Barkley. I think Charles Barkley would be fascinating.
And why?
Because, well, one, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame player, and had a great college career and pro career. And then what he's done in the media, he's kind of built an image for himself twice, both as a player and then, after his playing career was over. So I think he'd be very, very interesting.
Oh, nice. Mine is, and I've gone back and forth with a few on this, but I would just love to sit with the bar with Joe Namath because I've told you, I think he's the most critically important football player of our generation because of what he did in the AFL, NFL with the Jets, winning the Super Bowl. And I know we've heard the stories, but about winning the Super Bowl, but his recruitment from Pennsylvania by Bear Bryant and Howard Schnellenberger is completely fascinating to me when you're getting recruited in the early 60s when there's no social media, there's none of that going on. I would love to sit with Joe Namath and his mom did not want him to leave Pennsylvania, want him to go to play at Penn State or, Maryland. That's where he was headed to go. And basically Howard Schnellenberger kidnapped him and took him to Alabama, and he met Bear Bryant, and the rest is history. But just the process and what the pressure was like in the mid-'60s when after the first year, you get involved in all the rumors of gambling, and you have a bar in New York City called Bachelors, and he was just so fundamentally important to the growth of football and all that pressure put on him. I would love to sit and talk to him about Bear Bryant, winning the Super Bowl, his legacy afterwards, because we have yet to see anybody in the game of football like Joe Namath since he left.
I think that's a really good one. And the thing I love about this question, Joe, is I don't believe there's a wrong answer.
No.
We're going to get some good ones.
Right, and Joe Namath is not my favorite. My favorite athlete's Howie Long. I mean, I love Howie Long. I love football-wise. I love him, but I want to get to the mind of Joe Namath and just what it was like in those days with Bear and the Super Bowl and everything else. That's me, but I know our text line's blowing up on this.
It is. Let's get to a couple of phone calls real quick, and then we'll get to the text line. Sean wants to weigh in on our athlete you would have a beer with question. Sean, welcome.
Hey, guys. Hey, so athlete, does it have to be a football player? Because I think I would pick Glenn Jacobs.
Like Kane, the wrestler?
Yeah, honorable Glenn Jacobs.
Okay. I like that. No, it can be any athlete.
Why? Just because with him now transferring from being a live entertaining person to politics, I just think that's a really interesting jump.
Good one.
And just kind of get his ideas on, what the structure of, politics today is, plus just to hear about what those matches were like back then.
I like that one. That's a good one. Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Glenn Jacobs, better known as Kane, WWE Hall of Famer. He's the mayor of Knox County, so he's a Tennessean. But now he's obviously a full-time politician. He shows up every now and then for special events in WWE, but pretty cool. That was a good one.
I would like to have a beer with Corey Perry and ask him what the heck was going on.
That's a good one. That is a good one for sure. Thank you, Joey. I was wondering if we'd get something like that. All right, let's see some texts. Matt says Mike Ditka. That's a good one.
Yeah, that would be because, I love Ditka just because, when you got a coach at that time who was he really didn't like his players, but he loved them. And you don't see that anymore from a coach, right? I mean, he hated McMahon, but he loved him. And I think with Ditka, Chase, when coaches don't like to admit mistakes, you know that? And Ditka's come out and said, I should have let Walter Payton score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. That's the one thing that'll bother me the rest of my life. I think that says a lot about Mike Ditka.
Yeah. I think that would be a fascinating one. What's funny is I'm going to read all these and I'm going to change mine like 8 times.
All right.
1936 says George Kittle. I mean, he'll be entertaining. Yeah. Like, he would be a good time. 3109 said Dale Jr. I know people are surprised that I didn't say Dale Jr., but that's a good one.
Here's the deal. Let me pause you on that because it's not so much he's your favorite athlete, but sometimes you want to get into the mind of somebody else that intrigues you, that really, you could get something out of you normally wouldn't hear or something like that. So I understand why you don't choose Dale Jr. because, you know all about him. It's somebody else you want to get into the mind of.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Like Charles Barkley to me would just it'd be entertaining and interesting. Cause like, I think he's a really smart dude, like he's obviously made a great career for himself after basketball. And so, I mean, I met him briefly, like for 2 seconds. Remember he was at the Stanley Cup final here in Nashville because he wanted to come to Nashville. Like that kind of thing fascinates me. Michael, I think I would have to go with Rob Gronkowski because I need to know how much of his personality is hammed up for TV or if he's actually just that goofy. That's a fantastic one. And how he worded that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's right. He's right. I mean, I've never met him, but all the counts, I hear his recruiting stories when he went to Ohio State, some other schools where he just got really plastered and had a good time. And I think that's just his personality, man.
Jonathan says Antonio Brown.
That's a good. That's the question. That's the answer we're looking for.
Yeah,
you want to know. I mean, you had the world at your fingertips. What happened?
9721. David in Portland says Pac-Man Jones or Dale Jr. Pac-Man would be a good one.
Pac-Man would be fascinating to sit down with and say, man. What went on? Were you ready for all this? Did you understand all that was going on? So that's a good one.
I went down a rabbit hole recently and was watching. For some reason, I was watching Pac-Man highlights, and watching him with the Titans, it just got me mad because I was like, that guy, because of his position, it's hard to say this, but like he might have been the most athletic Titan in history. But, he wasn't here very long because he couldn't stay out of trouble. And then, he gets so many chances and ends up having a pretty good career in the National Football League after, messing up here in Dallas and then finally lands in Cincinnati. But just, what could have been? I mean, he could have been a Hall of Famer with how good he was had he just stayed out of trouble.
Benjamin on the text line has got a good one. And this is one I laughed at it originally, but then I'm like, okay, O.J. Simpson.
I mean, look, I mean, I know why people are going to say why they wouldn't. That I don't want to be near that guy, but I would. I mean, I want to. I mean, I have questions. We all have questions, and they're the same questions. And you're going to ask those questions.
Yeah,
you might get a few beers in, but I'm going to ask. Like, hey, you do it? I mean, why wouldn't you? And what's led to that? I mean, I've told you this before. One of the most, during COVID, I watched all the OJ stuff. Rewatched the Made in America and then the Cuba Gooding Jr. one. With John Travolta. I'm fascinated with him, with that whole career of just how this guy could have the entire world in the palm of his hand and then just watch it change.
Absolutely. A lot of reaction coming in for Dennis Rodman.
Oh, he would be a good one. He would definitely be a good one. Philip in Mount Juliet agrees with you and says Joe Namath. We got one for Joe Montana.
Yep.
Steve in Clarksville. Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, wrestled during the golden era of WWE. He would have some incredible stories. I agree with that one.
You know what? Also, I mean, there are no TV cameras around. There's no producer. You're just sitting in the bar with this guy having a beer. I mean, and that's it. And you're just watching sports and talking and shooting the bull. And so that's what makes this question kind of unique in its own way. It's all like you're not starstruck. You're not getting an autograph. You're just sitting there, shooting the bull for an hour or two. And who would you do it with? And I can't keep up with the text. You got to do it. I mean, they're coming in left and right.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to more of them, and also your phone call, 615-737-1025. An athlete that is living that you would want to have a beer with. Doesn't have to be your favorite athlete, just an athlete that's living that you'd want to have a beer with. Text line blowing up. And the best one, we'll give a 4-pack of tickets to the Predators tomorrow. 615-737-1025. That's next on Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hey, tune in to 93.3 Classic Hits tomorrow as MTSU men's basketball takes on Wofford at the Murphy Center. Pregame at 6, tip-off at 6:30. Coverage also available on the 93.3 Classic Hits app and 93.3classichits.com. Taking your answers, our question, what living athlete do you want to have a beer with? Doesn't have to be your favorite athlete, but what living athlete do you want to have a beer with? 615-737-1025. I want to try and get to all of these, but they are coming in fast and furious. All right. Phil in Kentucky says Charles Woodson. He gives a long thing, but Charles Woodson is who he picks. That's a good one.
Good one. All right.
All right. 9355 Ty from Camden. Cam Neely, known enforcer. And how could you not share a pint with Seabass? That's a good one.
Yes.
Hockey one. Yeah. Todd from Nashville. John Daly, hands down. I have a feeling that would get out of control quick.
Oh, exactly.
Oh, man, that's a good one. Adam in Clarksville, another wrestler, says Shawn Michaels. Oh, that would be – he doesn't drink anymore either, but that would be – I mean, just the stories he could tell. Josh Mike Tyson, can you imagine?
Woo!
That's a good one. Bud, Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
Nolan Ryan's a good one. Mark in Murfreesboro, 100% Bob Euchre. Can you imagine the stories he would tell after a few drinks? I can imagine the stories he would tell sober.
Yeah, right?
8408 says Chase's pick of him and Dale Jr. I want to feel a love like that. That's from Cam. Yeah. Don't we all? Now 6638. This is a good one, but we said living. He said Yogi Berra, but got to be living.
Got to be living.
Brian says Bruce Boudreau. He'd be fun. Former coach of several teams, but he'd be fun. 0443. I would sit down with any non-English speaking athlete. I speak English only, so what's a better way to spend a guy's night out just watching the game?
Oh my, that'd be so awkward.
That would be awkward. Gronk and Minshew together. That's from Dustin in Hopkinsville. Gardner Minshew and Gronk. That would be good.
That's a weird one, but yeah.
Herb from McEwen, Shaq for sure. Yeah, I figured we'd get some votes for Shaq. You gotta have him. 0365 says OJ. Now, okay, Chris Sanders texted me, and then we got some text on this. John McEnroe.
Yeah.
John McEnroe.
We had him
that's a fantastic one.
We had him on the show about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
He was great.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun interview, and then I saw him. Remember, and this may have been when we had him on. They did that tennis thing at Bridgestone. I think that it was like an all-star, and it was like him and I think Sampras and.
That's right.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Who was the other one? Anders Gerd, one of those other Swedish. Oh, or Stefan Edberg, I think it was.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Let's see. 4306, George Foreman. How did you stay motivated and in shape to come back and win the title at age 46? That's a good one. 4704, Terry Bradshaw.
That'd be a good one. That'd be really good. I got
That's
one here,
Dan.
Chase, for which I like. I got two people texting me. Jack Lambert, linebacker, because he's been out of the public eye now for probably 40 years.
Yeah.
But what it was like to lead the Steel Curtain, oh my God. Can you imagine having a beer with Jack Lambert?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
That'd be
fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of somebody along those lines. Like, he'd probably be boring, but like Andrew Luck would be interesting just because it's like, dude, what? So why did you really walk away? Like somebody like that walked away, well before they had to. You could say Barry Sanders or what have you, but like, that would be interesting to me. Let's see. 0113 Jimmy Garoppolo. It says Jimmy Garoppolo. If there are any other ladies in the audience, they know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Let's see. Josh from Ashland City. I would choose Ja Morant, so we could talk about the scenarios off the court, on maybe how
That's
he
a
would
great
take
one.
time to listen to someone who's made some mistakes and figure
That's a
out
good
how
one. That's what this question's about. It's not about just sitting there being starstruck. It's just about getting to the mind of these different people. It'd be fascinating to do that.
Brandy says not an athlete, but I'll count coaches. We'll count coaches. Not an athlete, but I would love to have a beer with Mike McDaniel. Now he doesn't drink anymore,
Yeah.
but Mike McDaniel would be awesome. Ooh, you'll like this one, JoJo. 4447 Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
From playing for Wooden through the religious change and how the game changed at every level.
Also, he had at one time the largest collection of jazz music in the world, and his house burned down and he lost everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Greg says Tom Brady to learn what his real relationship was like with Bill and if he knows if Mike Vrabel once out of Nashville for New England. Another one for McEnroe. Thomas says Ric Flair. Well, he can drink. That's for sure.
But I again, no wrong answer. But with
No.
Ric Flair, what would you want to know? I mean, it's just that you
Oh,
have.
I know. No, like, I want to know. Like, I think a lot of it's real, like with him. But, you've seen all the documentaries and everything. But, like, just two dudes sitting at the bar, like, expand the stories. Because, like, when you hear the legendary stories, there has to be more to it.
Right.
That's kind of what I would want. 8600 says Fred Couples.
That's interesting. I asked him why. Did he respond back?
No.
Okay. Here's one that I think is fantastic. Refrigerator Perry. That's a guy because you go from playing football at Clemson on you win a national championship at Clemson in 81. You get drafted by the Bears in 85. And then like that, you become a public icon. You become this figure, this character, this everything in a blink of an eye. And you win a Super Bowl and you score a touchdown. I would love to know about all that. And evidently he's had some hard times after leaving the NFL and just about the struggle and all that. That'd be fantastic to talk to him.
That would be a good one. Let's see. Wes in Hermitage wants to weigh in on our phone line. Wes, what's up?
Man, disregard my OJ take because everybody says that, and I have the best one, I think. But, man, I really, really would need to sit down with Mr. Connor Stallions and just ask him, like, what happened? Because nobody's talking about it, like, behind the scenes. I want his perspective to know exactly what happened in Michigan.
That's a good one. Okay. Appreciate it, Wes.
Yeah, not only that, but how did you – what kind of got you going to do this knowing that if you did get caught, you're done?
Yeah, right. Well, in my thing, too, I'd be like, why did you brag about it? Like, you bragged about it and outed yourself. Viking Matt says Meta World Peace, even though he might not drink. We're on our
That's
test.
a good one. Yeah.
Matt says Pete Rose. Oh, yeah. Butkus just died, but Pete Rose. That'd be a good one. Pete would be fascinating.
I'd go with Mike Tyson for mine.
Tyson would be good.
Before my time, obviously, but, watching some of his highlights on YouTube, different fighter after he went to prison. He came back and just man on a mission. I just would love to know what his thought process was after he got out of jail and all the above.
15. That's a good one. 1503. Conor McGregor, because he's just wild. Plus, if you turn down Proper 12, you may end up getting paid.
Okay.
I think you shouldn't turn down Proper 12, but whatever. 1423, and then we'll get to Lee Sterling. I have had a beer with Mick Foley, a.k.a. Mankind, at a Comic-Con in Knoxville. Okay.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Glenn and Laverne, Michael Strahan. These are just coming just crazy. We'll get to Lee Sterling. Joe, your assignment while we talk to Lee Sterling is to look through some of these for the last segment so we can get a winner.
All right, you got it, buddy.
We will do that. We'll talk to Lee Sterling. We'll get you some bets for the weekend. We'll do that next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, friends, let me tell you about Middle Tennessee's best healthcare in the comfort of your own home. I'm talking about medical house calls, where the nearest clinic is your home. The website is simple, medicalhousecalls.com. No more heading to an urgent care. No more sitting in a waiting room. Board-certified nurse practitioners and physician's assistants come to you. Look, don't take my word. Just read the numerous fantastic reviews that Medical House Calls has gotten. It really is a game changer. In fact, Chuck McDowell was a client. He loved the service so much, he bought the company. That's right. You know, for years, I had to leave work early to check on my mom when she was sick. Now, you don't have to do that. You can have Medical House Calls checking on your loved ones to make sure everyone and everything is going okay. It's really that good, and it is a game changer, my friends. All you got to do is visit the website today, medicalhousecalls.com.
Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. We'll give you a winner for our question of the day, an athlete, living athlete that you want to have a beer with. You can keep the text coming in, 615-737-1025. Chasing Big Joe, presented by Regal Realty Group. Let's say hello to our man Lee Sterling. ParamountSports.com joins us every Friday at this time to give you some picks for the weekend. Lee, how are you?
I'm great. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving.
I did. I know you were up in New York City, correct?
Yeah. I mean, we decided to give it a shot. My daughter lives up there now, my youngest, and I always wanted to go to the Macy's Day Parade. So we just got lucky. The day before and day after, it was raining. It was 53 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. And it was just one of those perfect days. I thought there'd be like 15, 20 people deep. It was 35 to 40 people deep on both sides. It was, though, incredible. Just everyone was in a great mood, something I think everyone needs to do once in their lifetime. And then I also saw the Dolphins-Jets game, saw UConn and Texas, saw the Heat play twice, and took the wife to Billy Joel. But the highlight of the trip had to be after the Billy Joel concert. We are leaving in an Uber, and Billy Joel himself pulled up in an SUV with his bodyguard with the windows down, and we were stopped at a light, and my wife had over a minute conversation with him. So,
oh, wow. That's awesome. That's really cool. So
a lot of fun. But that was the icing on the cake to the weekend.
Sounds like a great trip for sure. All right, let's get to the picks for this weekend as we enter championship weekend in college football and then another slate of NFL games. Florida State, a 2.5-point favorite against Louisville.
Florida State is clearly the better team with Jordan Travis.
Right.
Without him, I think that they are at best even with Louisville. And I'm hearing right now that Tay Rodemaker is a game-time decision with a concussion. He's in concussion protocol. Got a pretty good source there. So we'll see what happens with that. Even if he does play, they only had 224 total yards in the game last week against Florida. And Florida dominated for 3 quarters here. The weather is going to be awful for the game. Florida ran over them for 146 yards in that game. And I think Louisville's got a better running attack than Florida, more explosive as far as receivers. And the 3 times so far this year, Louisville has turned the ball over 3 times in a game. First 2 times, they came back the next game and dominated Notre Dame 33-20, then shut out Duke 23-0. I think they're going to rebound here and do the selection committee a favor. Wrong team favored. Louisville outright 30-24.
Okay. And then in the SEC championship game, this one in Atlanta, Georgia, a 5.5-point favorite against Alabama.
I mean, both of these two teams were sleepwalking. Alabama's, though, their 4th and 31 conversion for a touchdown obviously was the talk of the weekend. Would you agree, outside of Mario Cristobal's decision not to take a knee, that rushing 2 defensive linemen and having a spy has to be the number 2 worst decision by a coach in the entire season?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. But that's all everyone's talking about. No one's talking about Georgia escaping the game against Georgia Tech, winning the game by only 8. I think their defense is good, but not even close to where it was the last 2 years. They allowed 4.9 yards per carry last 2 games against Tennessee and Georgia Tech, while Bama's offense is really getting it going. They're averaging almost 6 yards per carry the last 4 games. I think both offensive and defensive lines are pretty much a push. I think Jalen Milroe's ability to extend plays and not just run, wait and allow his receivers to get open on the run could be the deciding factor here. And Georgia, I know, has won 29 straight games, but Bama's won 7 of the last 8 in the series, and Bama has all the motivation. Georgia could still get in. If they lose a close game, I like Alabama here, 27-23.
Moving to the NFL, Jacksonville, an 8.5-point favorite against Cincinnati, obviously with no Joe Burrow.
Right, and I don't understand what the situation was with Zach Taylor. I mean, you know you're playing the game with a backup quarterback, and you run the ball only 11 times, pass it 30 times, made no sense. I don't know what his game plan was. It certainly was not going to work, and now they're going to face Jacksonville. I think at 5-6, this is going to be their last hurrah. Down the road, they might give up, but I think they're going to try to force Trevor Lawrence to throw the ball over the middle. That's where he's had some problems this year. And Jacksonville, very conservative once they get a lead so far this year. This game kind of reminds me, not as high scoring, but reminds me of the game last night where the better team wins but doesn't cover more than a touchdown. A lot in the NFL. I think Jacksonville wins 23-17, but the Bengals cover.
Then we got Houston -3 against the surging Denver Broncos.
Wow. I mean, I thought they were for dead. I mean, after giving up 70 points and over 700 yards to Miami, the job that Sean Payton has done has been incredible. I asked a friend of mine, big Houston fan, we're in the gym, I said, tell me what you like about Houston so far this year. He says, C.J. Stroud. I said, absolutely. I said, who else? He goes, Nico Collins. I said, yep. Who else? Silence. Couldn't come up with a third thing. I still think they have a lot of weaknesses, and I think Denver can expose them. Sean Payton doing a great job. Russell Wilson last year I thought was the worst quarterback in the NFL. This year, 20 touchdowns and just 4 interceptions. Their defense has caused 15 turnovers in the last 4 games. That's the best stretch in 34 years, and they ran for 169 yards on a Browns defense that had given up fewest yards per game going into that game here. I like Denver here, 27-20.
Then at Nissan Stadium, the Titans trying to win 2 in a row for the first time this year as they host the Colts. The Colts a 1-point favorite on the road.
Titans were in control from the get-go last week. Never trailed versus the Panthers. They snapped that 3-game losing streak. First drive was just beautiful to watch. Titans 15 plays, 91 yards. I think it was about 9 minutes of time of possession. They need to have more of that. Jonathan Taylor for Indianapolis ran for 2 touchdowns. The Colts won their 3rd straight game, but Jonathan Taylor is out for 3 weeks. Gardner Minshew won for a 3rd straight game. He has never done that in his career. I don't think you're going to see a 4th win in a row here. And Tennessee's dominated of late, winning 5 of 6 here. Just got to stay away from being conservative. Didn't you think they were real conservative in the second half?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, thought a little too much. So let's see if they can overcome that. But I think Tennessee wins and covers this game, 23-13.
And then the free play this week, Kansas City -6 against Green Bay, but they got to call you to get that one.
Yep, we're going to give it to the first 5 callers. Love this game, KC and Green Bay. I think there's a clear right side winner. First 5 callers get it for free. Call 800-400-9741. It's on me, and this is all about football the next month. We call it Double Down December. We've won 10 out of 14 weeks in college football. We've only had 2 losing weeks in the NFL on Sundays, so you want to hop on board, get championship week, all my selections this week, all the bowl games, that's 35 bowl games through December 31st, and 5 weeks of the NFL. Normally it's $4.97. Last year we had it for $3.97. We're going to make it even cheaper than that, $297 for everything through December 31st. It's called Double Down December. It's available one place, ParamountSports.com.
Check it out for sure. Lee, appreciate it as always. We'll talk next week.
Sounds good. Take care.
Absolutely. Lee Sterling joining us, ParamountSports.com. Coming up next, we will get more of your texts. Athlete you want to have a beer with, a living athlete, and also celebrity birthdays. That's next. Jason Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, the game here on this Friday. Our question blew up. 615-737-1025. A living athlete that you'd want to have a beer with. Tons of answers that came through. Raymond and Franklin, Wilt Chamberlain, and his little black book. Interesting. Votes for Ric Flair, Jim Mora, just Dennis Rodman was one. I mean, Joe, you were looking through some of these.
Well, the thing was not just, hey, I'm a big fan of yours and let me stare at you for an hour while I drink a beer, but thought-provoking questions about it. It doesn't have to be your favorite athlete. Just why? And so I think the winner is Josh with the Ja Morant question about, man, what are you doing? What's going on? Let me tell you about what I went through. Let me give you some experiences of why you don't need to head down this road. That's the kind of like question and example we were looking for. So, Josh, congratulations, my man.
Yeah, I like that one. Johnny Manziel got some votes. Man.
There's no wrong answer. There was no wrong answer.
No. John Daly got a few. I'm just still reading through some of these. Pat McAfee. McAfee would be interesting.
I'm good.
I would enjoy that.
Few things, Chase, real quick. In the second quarter, Alcoa is leading East Nashville 14-7 in the Class 3A state championship.
Yeah.
And also, all right, before the show, I tweeted to Oprah. I thought, hey, give a shout out to your alma mater, East Nashville. I've had about 20 people come at me and say, oh, you wasted your time. That was dumb. She doesn't care about East Nashville. Why did you do that? It literally took me 4 seconds to send that tweet out, okay? That's all it took. It wasn't like I spent all day on a tweet. And we've gotten a bunch of reaction, retweets, or whatever from that. It ain't about us, man. It's about the kids and that school and the coaches. So if we get some love on these kids, Oprah or not, I don't give a damn. I don't care. So for those who are saying, you're wasting your time, I'm sure I'll get that 4 seconds back somewhere today. So thanks.
Yeah, I love that's like when people are like, you're wasting your time with that. And I'll be like, so you just took the same amount of time wasting your time to tell me that I'm wasting my time. You must live an exciting life.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Gotta love it. All right, with that, let's get to celebrity birthdays. And Celebrity Birthdays is brought to you by our man, Zach Pillar, and his Instagram account. Give him a follow on Instagram, Zach Pillar Design 69. Step into his world. He'll join us Tuesday at 10:30.
Yeah, I love Zach Pillar. All right, here we go. First birthday. How old is Bette Midler?
82.
88.
She is 78 years old.
Dang. I knew I was in the neighborhood.
Yeah, you're in the neighborhood, just the wrong neighborhood. Next is, supermodel Carol Alt. I think she's been married to a hockey player, too.
49.
39.
Carol Alt is 63. Good job, guys.
That plastic surgery, man, it does wonders.
Comedian Sarah Silverman.
Oh, she's funny.
Yep.
You know what? I'm going to say like 48.
53.
53 exactly. Good job, Nick.
Thank you.
Carol Alt was married to New York Ranger hockey player Ron Greschner for 14 years.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm sure Pete Weber knows who that is.
I'm sure.
Yep. Actress Zoe Kravitz, Lenny's daughter.
29.
31.
35. Woody Allen. How old is Woody Allen?
84.
89.
88. Good job, Nick.
Nice.
2-0. Let's see. Singer Gilbert O'Sullivan. Alone again. Naturally.
Thank you for that. 74.
I guess I'm going to go 68.
77. Lucy Ewing from Dallas. Charlene Tilton.
73.
79?
65. Come on, y'all.
I'm not having a good day.
You're not.
It's a gloomy day outside. There's a lot of rain.
It is. He lives in Nashville. Singer Matt Kearney.
We went and saw him a few weeks ago, didn't we?
Who's we? Right?
Oh, you're funny. 52.
56?
45. Come on, you guys are better than that. The lead singer of 21 Pilots, Tyler Joseph.
Tyler Joseph is 47.
Tyler Joseph, we're going to go 42.
35.
Jeez.
Come on, guys.
This is brutal.
You're embarrassing me. Lee Trevino, PGA golfer.
We had a vote for that on our beer thing. 34.
Lee Trevino.
I don't.
I'm going to go, let's go 57.
He's 84.
I don't know.
Good Lord. You missed it by 50 years.
I don't know.
And you weren't trying to be funny either.
No, I wasn't.
I got to get you one, Chase. All right, the lead singer of Mercy Me, Bart Millard. How old is he? You got to get. You don't need to go in the weekend with a shutout.
45.
Ooh. 46.
51. You tried, Chase. Good job, buddy. A for effort.
I tried my best and I failed miserably. The lesson is never try. That's from Homer Simpson.
That is from Homer Simpson. Exactly right.
That will do it for us. We'll see if the Titans can win back-to-back games. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. And Joe, as always, take us home.
Yeah, to our guys out there, look, I know it's the holiday season. It's tough on a lot of us out there. I understand that. But listen, just know that you guys are loved. Our world's a better place if you're here. If you're struggling, please call 988 on your cell phone. Please call that number and talk to somebody. We'll get through this together. Again, we just want you guys to know that we love you. And again, our world is a better place because you are here. Chase, I'll see you Monday.
See you Monday. Be blessed. Caroline, Willie, and D. Mace next.